Hi guys, it's Mark and welcome to Approach on our Kung Fu season episode 2 review. I wanted to do this on my lunch break because it's not something that's going to take a long time. So just going to talk about a few things I liked about the episode, a few questions that I had, and yada yada. You know how we do it. This episode is entitled Silence, and I really, really enjoyed it. I like the progression so far. I like the pilot. I like this episode. So there's definitely consistency in terms of writing right now. I say that right now because it is a CW show, so you never know what could happen. But for right now, it's very consistent. Now, we'll say right off the bat, the fight choreography in this episode was not bad. But after seeing Painkillers kind of pilot in Black Lightning this week, it was a little bit annoying in a sense. Now, to be fair, he's not a metahuman. Khalil knows over 22, 23 martial arts, fighting styles that he's mastered because of his programming. So it's not fair to actually compare them apples to oranges, but I just wish that, because I have a theory that Nikki is one of the 7 guardians, even though she probably, I don't know if it's a familial thing. Maybe they have an ancestor they didn't know or whatever. But I think she's one of the 7 guardians that are guardian families. It's either 7 or 8. I think it's 8. So I would like to see her kick butt a little bit more because there's a scene where she's in an underground, like kind of card poker type gaming room or whatever. It's pretty illegal. And she just comes in and she does a good job fighting the bouncers and the security team, I guess is what we're calling them. But I don't know. I kind of felt like she would have been a lot more impressive if she had come in there rolling like Khalil, aka Painkiller, but not killing, but maybe dismembering a little bit. So that's just me, and not saying she's not going to get there, because in this episode, Nikki's dealing with a lot of stuff. She's dealing with kind of reconnecting with her family, who's like all over the place. She's been gone for 3 years, but their lives are a little bit different. And busy. Her sister's getting married. The father's trying to reconnect with his daughter through a game they used to play, and then the mother's kind of like on the fence saying, why are you really home? You're probably only here because you have nowhere else to go. You don't care about us. So it's a thing. And then of course her brother being a doctor slash kind of, he's not the golden boy, let's put it that way. So I just think it's interesting that for some reason she's dealing with this, but she always has like these moments where she can talk to her dead Shifu. Like, it's really interesting. Like, if you looked at, I keep going back to Painkiller. He had like this whole Zen, sitting in the training room, but there's like a Zen guardian outside. He's, kind of meditating, and you got, Painkiller on the other side, all in black, just like emo as hell. So when he talks to himself in his mind, it's very pretty and artistic. But I mean, it almost seems like Nikki's gone crazy. She's talking to her like her Shifu's still alive. Like, she's literally having conversations with her like all of the time. And Shifu's giving her advice. And I'm like, is that a spiritual power that the Guardian family has? That's very interesting to me. I don't know. It's a little weird. But so yeah, in this episode, like I said, she's dealing with reconnecting with her family. On top of that, she meets this girl who's getting mugged in the park by this guy. And basically she pulls a gun, and the guy takes the gun and tries to take her money. And of course, Nikki, being the new vigilante in town, such Arrow season 1 vibes, outside of not killing people, she beats his ass and he runs away. Then the girl picks up the gun and runs away. And so she's spending some of her time still looking into, basically the murder of Shifu, but she's also trying to figure out who this girl is and how to help her. And she decides to try and find out more information about this girl by literally stalking her ex. Like, she remembered like where he used to run, where he used to, get coffee, like even down to finding out that he gets pickup orders at her family's restaurant. That's a little stalkerish. I'm gonna put it out there, just a little bit. It's a little stalkerish. She even says, I'm not stalking you. She was stalking him. But he's the ADA, so she needed his help trying to locate, this young girl. She didn't have a name or anything. But, he apparently, her ex-boyfriend has a brother who's a cop or a detective. So I don't know how that's going to play out later in the season, but that's interesting. So of course she goes to Henry, and Henry, who I swear, Henry is just the person you go to for everything. I mean, not only for Chinese history, at this point, it's literally for everything, because she shows Henry, she had dropped like a little pouch behind, and he looks at it and he's like, oh yeah, that's a homeless shelter. And I'm like, of course Henry would know. I'm like, don't even go to your ex-boyfriend, go to Henry. I will say, side note, for the boyfriend to still run the exact same path, to still get his coffee at the same time, the same location. He is a creature of habit, which means the 3 years that she's been gone seems to really have changed about him is his job title, and he has a girlfriend. He does everything like he's standing in place. So that's interesting, really think about it from that perspective. And then you got Henry, who's more aggressive in terms of, moving her forward, or her board kind of being still in place. I think that's come into play when this whole love triangle thing really gets kicked off, which we know it will. It's going to be a love triangle. We also learned in this episode that Henry trained in Beijing. So I think it was a wushu. Was it wushu? It was a wushu temple. It makes sense because he was helping her fight in the pilot, and he's supposed to be a Tai Chi teacher. So it does make sense how he knows a little something. So I was cool with that. Now, something I have a question about in this episode. Let's go back to Nikki's mother. So Nikki's mother is like, why are you here? Blah, blah, blah. Everyone thought that Nikki was still asleep. So like, she doesn't have a job. She's not going to law school. So they don't really know what she's doing. By all, intents and purposes, she kind of comes off as a deadbeat. And so her mother kind of treats her like that. But what I don't understand, and this is me. So I understand you tell your mother, kind of slipped out and told her, who then told your brother that you're after the assassin that killed your Shifu. But why don't you tell your mother, oh, the reason I blew off being late playing this game with my dad, who you just guilted me about, is because I'm actually helping this young girl, this homeless girl I met, with her mother and problems they're having. I understand the problem with just confiding her about that. Then maybe the mother and the rest of the family lay off her a little bit because they think she's actually back for the community. So I understand why keeping it a secret is a thing. It's very strange to me. So I just had questions about that. We also learned in this episode, and this is another I have. So there's a dress for the sister's wedding. So of course Nikki goes to this dress fitting, and she's trying on this really pretty dress. She looks very hot. But she has like the strap covering her shoulder. And of course her sister's like, wait, you're going to outshine me. We need to get like more of a collar, and then she pulls the strap down, and then she sees the, basically the scar for her, and Nikki gets stabbed. So my question is, they have this whole conversation about that where Nikki's like, I'm sorry, I didn't really tell you everything that happened. It wasn't just a fire, yada, yada, yada. But Althea, her sister, gets a phone call, and she tells the person on the phone, this is the last time I'm talking, tell you, stop calling me. So the conversation that they have is, Althea's been keeping something too. Like something's going on with her and whoever it is that's on the phone, because she brushed it off like saying it was just a wedding vendor, but no. And then Nikki's like, not everybody can have a perfect bridal fantasy life. And she's like, a lot has happened in 3 years. My life is not a fantasy, basically. So that tells me something shady went down with her sister and whoever it is that's calling her. So I don't know if this is a stalker situation. I don't know if she's made a bad, shady business deal like her parents did. I don't know, because she is trying to do her own internet or data. I think it's a programming startup. She's in the computer, so she's doing something as a startup. And apparently her fiance is going to invest in her company after they're married. But I think before that point, something must have happened with somebody. And I'm really curious to know what that is. So I like these little side stories they have. They're not thrown in your face immediately, but they give you a little nugget to say, hey, there's some crap going on in this show with other characters outside of the main character. And I'm completely cool. I'm cool with it. But yeah. So he helps the young girl, whose name is, I think it was Rhoda or Rhonda. and her mother was injured at work and settlement money. And she meets this guy named Derek, and an a-hole. He convinces her to make him the power of attorney. So he has attorney over her health and her money. And then after the daughter sees what he's doing, like spending all her mother's money, and the mother's missing appointments, and because she's disabled and she's not getting her medicine, she calls him out on it, and he throws her out. And that's what started all of this. And so Nikki decides to basically, she was gonna be a lawyer. And so she uses the things that she does know about being a lawyer to go over there and intimidate him, and then threaten him with violence to get out of the house. And then says that the mother's going to sign the power of attorney, or basically relinquish it and get all her money back, and she can stay in the house for 24 out of 48 hours so they can get another place for the daughter and the mother to live. Just all the stuff you see in an abuse or domestic abuse case. But when she said that, when she's like, the power of attorney is going to sign over, I already knew. I said, that man's going to go drain that bank account. And that's exactly what he did. And so that's why he goes to play cards, because he's a gambler. And then she has to go in there and have that moment where it was cool that she just walked in, but I just wish that fight scene had been a little bit more impressive. I know that's a little nitpicky, but, and again, it is because I came off of watching the Painkiller pilot and then seeing this, and like this is kung fu. So I need it to be a little bit more flashy. I just can't help it. I'm used to my kung fu movies being flashy. I need her flinging through trees and all kinds of stuff. So I need it to happen. But it is what it is. So she does end up solving that. She gets the money back. Basically, we don't see him anymore. I kept thinking also, when she went home, what stopped Derek from coming back to that house and then beating their butt, and doing whatever he wanted, but whatever. So there's also a little side story that's happening as well. So Xilan, the person that killed her Shifu, turns out she was Pei-Ling, the Shifu's sister. So they're both from this guardian family that, so I guess their weapon is the sword, which now explains why Pei-Ling had this sword and was hiding it, because it's their family sword. And I guess Xilan, if I'm saying it incorrectly, I apologize. She's on a power trip. She wants all of the weapons. So there's 8 mythological weapons. And there's this professor, his name is Cha. I think it's Winston Cha. I have to go back and look at his first name. Winston Cha, I believe is his name. He wrote a book about it. He's pretty much obsessed with this subject, and he's giving a talk, but he's in Singapore. And when they were able to hack to see where Xilan was, I see that she's also in Singapore. So we know that she's after this doctor. And she even says to him, you can definitely help me with something. I don't know if she's trying to shut him up or if she's trying to get more insight on where the other 7 weapons are. But she got to Professor Chaub first. And it's not like Nikki can just jump on a plane. She doesn't have the money like that. And also, she just got back. So what's her family going to say? Oh, you just got back and now you're gone again? So she can't just run, and into Singapore and try and stop it. But plus, by the time she would get there, Xilan already had ample time to actually, I think, ample time to kill him or get him to do whatever. It's definitely interesting. It is definitely interesting. But yeah, so now we know that Shifu and Xilan were sisters. I just want to know Nikki's connection, because that sword burned her in the pilot episode and it burned a pattern. So that tells me maybe the sword is choosing another family, maybe her. I don't know. But I think that she is going to be one of the guardians, if not the guardian that can have all of the weapons, which is kind of cool. I have no problem with this. Another impressive thing is I see the family dynamic as, so Nikki really is the golden child, because she's the only one that can get the father to do anything. Like, the son is literally a doctor and cannot get the father to come in here for a checkup. The sister doesn't seem to be able to get the father to do anything, but Nikki sits down for 5 seconds like, we're going to play this game. And then on Sunday or Monday, we're going to go get, a checkup. And he's like, okay. I'm like, that's why she's a golden child. So I do see why the brother's a little jealous. Knowing how the father reacted to his son coming out, how he just didn't really talk about it, and the mother acted like it didn't happen. I do wonder if if the LGBT thing is going to come back out or be an issue later, because they do treat the son like They never had that conversation. So I'm very curious to see how that plays out, because I personally think CW needs to do a little bit better in terms of LGBT representation, because let me start. I did a video on my other channel, Approach the Yuri, that shows some of the couples that have been failed by the network. And I'm really hoping that 2021 is the year, even though Nancy Drew is already screwed up, is the year that LGBT representation gets a little bit better, because they need to have this talk. Because, you know, they're all about dare to defy progression that needs to happen. So I need to see what happens more with her brother and the parents, because right now, well, I mean, technically, though, it's not an untrue way to react, because my in-laws are not Chinese or Korean, but they do the same thing. They act like it didn't happen, even though we are married. They're like, just don't think about it. Just don't think about any of it. So I guess that's just how you set things. You just don't think about it. So, but yeah, overall, not a bad episode. Still, the only things I about is basically what I like, what's going on with Althea. Why can't Nikki be more transparent outside of her mission to find, you know, Jilan and I guess assassinate her, whatever she plans to do, get revenge? Why can't she be more transparent about what she's doing during the day? Because why do the parents never ask her? She just like disappears and they're just like, okay. You know, like, well, you've been gone all day. Will you be home at 8? Where are you going? I'm like, why are these parents? I mean, especially the mother seems so controlling and micromanaging. Why is she not asking the daughter, what do you do all day? Where are you? Why are you leaving the house all the time? You know, who was calling you? She even got a phone call in front of her mom. She's like, go. I'm like, why is there no transparency? Why can't she tell them, oh yeah, I'm helping this homeless girl and her mom? I don't see the problem or the struggle or any of that. So, you know, it is what it is. But yeah, good episode. Not hating it. Forward to episode 3, because at least we're getting a little more, and we're getting clues every episode, it seems. So it is progressing nicely. It's not a slow burn show. We are actually getting like progression in plot. I mean, this is episode 2. We already know about the weapon. We already know that Paige and Jilan were sisters, and that Jilan basically killed her sister, and the clue in that Nikki's own sister that may or may not be bad. And, you know, it's pretty cool. And we know a little bit more about Henry. There's a lot about Henry that's a little mysterious. Him just, I trained in Beijing. And, you know, okay, you're over in Beijing. That's cool. So a side note, too, something else I wanted to say before I end this review. I am putting a lot of pressure on Nikki, because there is a scene where she's in the park and, you know, Henry tells her to use the studio to train. Her Shifu tells her to keep training in her mind. But when she tries to train, she's back in the attack and the fire and her, you know, and her Shifu dying. And I think that may be inhibiting her from fully being the badass martial artist that we know she potentially and more than likely is, because of the show title. But she does, like, she's literally training and she stumbles while she's training because she's literally in that moment. So I do think that could be holding her back a little bit, but I just would have loved her to come in there Matrix style or something in that during that card game and just like clean house, like pull an Arrow, you know, do something they would have done in season 1 of Arrow. So I think that would have been cool. But yeah, and I am about to get off my lunch break. So look at this, it's in under 20 minutes. I saw this Jeff trying to get. Well, no, I'm at work right now, so that would be hard. But guys, when you do watch this video, please leave me a comment. Let me know what you think. I would definitely want theories, like anything you think about that could be going on with Althea, the sister. What you think the real connection is with Nikki and these weapons, because I think there is a connection, especially with the sword. I think there's a connection. Do you think Henry is hiding some stuff? Because he's a little too good to be true. And also, why do you think Nikki is the parents the basic stuff she's doing? Like, why is this not a conversation they're having? Because eventually she's gonna have to say something, because quite frankly, you're running out every day. I'm like, you're not telling anybody where you're coming home at all hours. It doesn't make any sense. And also, what do you think Jilan's end game is? When she gets all the weapons, what is she going to do? Is she trying to become the most powerful entity in the world? Is she trying to take over the world? Is she trying to take over the underworld? You know, I know she has a connection to the triad. So what do you think she's going to do with the weapons when she gets them all? So I would love to know your opinions on that. And then what do you want to happen? Easy questions, guys. All right. I'm going to go eat lunch and then pop back into my long day of never ending projects. But I will see you guys tomorrow for our Falcon and Winter Soldier review, because you got to do it. And if I don't hit it, more than likely it will be in the afternoon, because it's harder to do it in the morning. So even though I'm off, so more than likely it will be about 1 or 2 p.m. Central Standard Time. Around this time tomorrow, we'll do our Falcon and Winter Soldier review. So be on the lookout for that. And then I got some more videos coming too. But I hope you guys have a good rest of your day. And thanks for hanging out with me. Bye, guys.